Have you ever wondered what fabrics you were going to use to make a pattern? You looked at that pattern and you tried to figure out which fabrics actually coordinate with each other? Or maybe even you were just trying to say, well, let me play around and see what's going to look best in the placement of my fabric. Well, if you stick around, I'm going to show you how to do that. My name is Tiffany and I've been invited by Becca and the Sunflower Seams pattern team to show you how to use IBIS Paint X for the iPad. Come and join me and I'm going to show you how to do this. Hi guys. All right, so we're going to get started using the IBIS Paint X app on the iPad. But in order to do that, there's a couple of things that you need to do first in order to be able to use the program or the app. First is download it from the App Store, which you can find it here. Type in IBIS Paint X, this right here. This is the one you're going to want to download. Once you're ready for that, then you can open the app. Okay. The other thing you're going to need to do, I've already done this ahead of time. You're going to go and you are going to create a screenshot of the pattern image. You're going to find this on the PDF pattern. When you scroll through, you're going to find the page that has the line drawings. You're going to screenshot the image that you want, okay, and save that to your photos. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to find images of the fabric that you like. So for instance, I really liked this floral pattern that Thread and Stitches from Etsy had on their page. So I screenshot these images. Right, several different choices here. I chose a couple of main fabrics and a couple of coordinate fabrics to kind of play around and see what I liked regarding the placement of my fabric within the pattern. For those who may struggle to figure out, you know, what fabrics coordinate, will this look good, will this not, this is a great way to do that. Find fabrics that are in the same collection. So the prints might be different, but the colors all coordinate. And that's a great way to get a head start on this process, okay? So that's what I have done here. Now I'm gonna go and I'm actually going to open the IBIS Paint app. When you open the program, you're gonna see that it looks like this, okay? I'm going to click by opening my gallery. I've been using IBIS Paint for a while, so I've got several things in my gallery. Yours is probably just going to be blank, and that's okay. We are going to start by clicking the plus sign to open a new screen. I generally choose the 4x3 option. It seems to be a nice size, allows me to have a good resolution and see really well what it is that I'm doing. Okay, get this propped up here so we can see well. All right. Okay. So the way this program works is that it works in layers. So you can see your layers are down here on the bottom right. It looks like a stack of papers. And you can see the layer that you're on is the number that you see. So I'm going to click this. This shows me that I'm on layer 1. My screen is currently blank and I don't have anything on it. The first thing that I'm going to want to do is bring in a picture of the image for the pattern itself. So I'm going to click the camera right here in the center. And I'm going to choose the image from my photos. I have it in albums and I've put it into my favorites already. So here's a picture of this. I'm going to drag and size this down just a little bit. You can see that this is what I took a screenshot of from the pattern. Now, once I get it the size I want it, I'm going to click OK. I want this to be a little clearer, so I like the size of this. So now that I've got that the size I want it, just by using my fingers to push and pull, I'm going to click the green little check mark here. Now the next thing that comes up, it says exact line drawing. Now if you have taken a screenshot of an image that is in color, what happens when you click OK on this is it makes it a black and white image, and that's what I want here because I want my layers to be clear. So if I take this slider on the black one, you can see I slide it to the right, it makes my bib really dark, and I don't want that. I want it to be white so that I can see the layered images behind it. So I leave it low, everything is black and white. I'm happy with this, so I'm going to click the check mark. Now what I need to do is I need to get rid of all of this other stuff around here that I don't need for this image design, okay? So I'm going to select my eraser tool on the left-hand side toolbar. And then here on the left at the bottom, you see this slide bar. This is the size of your eraser. You can see as I push it to the right, my circle gets bigger for a larger eraser, and pull it to the left, my eraser size gets smaller. So I'm gonna go something in the middle. I'm then just gonna use my fingertip, touch my screen, and I'm gonna start erasing the part of the pattern that I don't need, okay? All of this, all right? So you can see this was part of my screenshot. All right, there we go. So now I'm left with just a picture of the pattern that I want to work with, and I can use my fingers and make it a little bit bigger if I choose, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my layers, because now I need to start importing pictures of the fabric in order to put them in the placement where I want them. You can see that originally this image started off on layer 1. When I click my layers, it's gonna give me a new blank layer and push that to layer 2. So I click layer 1 again because this is where I want to add the fabric. I don't want the fabric on the same layer as my line drawing, because then it'll start erasing the line drawing and the fabric when we move into the next step. Make sure each image you add is on a new layer. Select that blank layer. So layer 1 is where we're going to go next. We're going to do the same thing we did for the picture. We're going to add an image. I'm going to go to my albums. I have it in favorites. And I'm going to go with the first fabric choice that I have. It's going to fill my whole screen. Same thing we did a minute ago. Use our 2 fingers. We're going to drag and pull. And we are going to place this fabric, using the scale that, it doesn't have to be perfect. So you figure out what you think looks best. In this situation, I think I'm going to use this fabric for my bodice and sleeves. So I'm just going to choose a placement that I think looks pretty good. Try to balance out the colors a little bit, because, I don't want my sleeve to be all pink or all blue and look off like it's 2 different fabrics. So maybe choosing something that's got a little bit of the colors from both in both places. Okay, so like this. So that looks good to me. I'm going to click OK. I do not want this to go to a black and white image, so I'm going to click cancel. That'll keep it a color image. But again, same thing we did before. We're going to stay on this layer, tap my screen. I've already got my eraser tool selected here on the left. You can see I've got my circle large, small, however big I want it. I'm going to go a little smaller this time because I'm going to be erasing everything around and outside of the bodice and the sleeve area that I don't want this fabric placed in. There we go. So now I just use my finger and I'm just going to start doing this. Now, a trick that you may, you'll quickly find out is, as you do long strokes, right, that's going to erase a lot of area. But let's say that I haven't picked my finger up and I accidentally hit the sleeve. Oh man, how am I going to fix that? There's an undo button right down here at the bottom. Now, when I hit undo, it's going to do this entire section. Now, if I would have done small strokes, right, picked up my finger every so often, if I'd hit that, then when I do undo, it's only going to fill in that small section. It doesn't make me have to re-erase everything that I have already done. So just use small strokes as you go through, and you can adjust the size of your eraser as you go through as well. Just pushing that up to the edge. All right, getting all the big stuff, right, all the way around here. And you can also drag and make it bigger so you can get a little closer and you can see a little better about what you're doing. I'm going to drag this to make it a little smaller. You can see I missed some of this down here. Pull this up. Come in and around. Just pop it into that corner. There we go. We got that. We're going to pull this over so I can see what I'm working with here. Erasing all of this outside of the sleeve. Just going to follow my pattern line. There we go. Oh, you can see I missed some of that, so I'm actually going to undo that. All right, and then I'm going to try to get as close as I can. Let's see. Sometimes I find it's easier to have your circle to be slightly larger than your fingertip so you can actually see where the edge of it goes. If it's the same size as your fingertip, sometimes it's a little hard to see. And we're going to erase all this up here because we don't need all this either. And that was part of our screenshot image. All right. When I took it from the website, from Thread and Stitches. Which, by the way, I did order this fabric, and it's lovely. Highly recommend it. I'm loving all these patterns that Becca and the Gail and the Sunflower Seams team are coming up with. They're so pretty. My daughter loves them as well. We did the gardenia as well, which is a knit dress, and she has loved it. She wore it to her Valentine's party, and she's worn it to church and a couple of other places, and it's one of her favorites because it is knit, and she can still do gymnastics and tumbles in it, and that's her favorite thing to do right now. I chose these fabrics because I think we're all in the mood for some spring weather, and these are just very bright and cheery, and I like the way that it looks. All right, so now I don't want this fabric on my bib, so again, I'm going to erase this out of the bib as well, because I think I'm going to use something else there. And the ruffle. Let's see, go. This might seem a little tedious, but it's not too bad, and it's actually quite relaxing. Like I said, I've been using this program for a couple of years now, and I found myself on a long flight one time, and I had already downloaded some of the pattern images and some fabrics that I liked, and I sat the whole flight and just kind of played with this app. And I love to see designs come to life and with fabric before I actually spend the money making something and then realizing that I really just don't like the way that it looked. You see how I'm zooming in to kind of really see what I'm doing, so you can see the details. And then you just drag and pull it. And use your finger. Like I said, if you have an Apple pen, that works as well. But finger works nice too. There we go. Oh, there's a little bit in there. We'll get rid of that. Pull that in. All right, and then we scroll back out. And now you've got the fabric for the bodice. Okay, so now what we want to do is pull in our second fabric choice. So again, we're going to go back down to the layers here at the bottom. Let me see if I can get that. All right, so here's your layers tab again. Tap it. You can see it moved that portion of the fabric up to a new layer. We're going to create another layer to bring in the new fabric. Go back to my favorites where I have all these saved. And I think we are going to go with this pretty pink. And I think I'm going to make this the, not the ruffle, but maybe the bib. So we'll shrink this down because I think that's about the scale of the fabric in general. Again, you just kind of eyeball this and figure it out, right? Because we obviously know that there's not 6 dots per that section of fabric. So, you know, you scale it into what you think just to give you a general idea. And I think I'm happy with that. Again, I do not want this to go to a black and white image, so I'm going to click cancel. All right, and now I'm on a new layer, so I'm going to use the eraser, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to make that a little bigger, and I'm going to get rid of all of this that I don't need, right? There we go. And because we're on a new layer, this only shows up on layers where there's nothing already placed, all right? Zoom in. I think I might have hit that a little. Oh, goodness. See, I didn't pick up my finger the whole time. And so now I have to go back and redo this whole thing. Let's see. That's why it's important to kind of pick your finger up as you go along. Otherwise, you end up having to redo all of it. That's no fun sometimes. All right, let's see. Getting in a little closer. We're going to drag so we can get a little bit of a more precise erasing. Let's pull this out of the back. Not necessarily going to be pink. We'll just leave that white because, you know, whatever you choose your lining to be. Okay. All right. I think that looks really cute. Now I need to figure out what I'm going to do for my 2 tiers. Now, the other thing is if I really wanted, I could make my ruffle a different color. But for this, you know, just for convenience of just showing you the tutorial, I'm just going to leave it like it is. A new layer, camera, find my fabric. And I think this time we're going to go with this pretty blue. All right. And all right. So you can see here the white is missing. That means I've got something hanging over this layer, and I'm going to have to figure out which layer that's on and kind of fix that in just a second. But I think that works. All right. I do not want that to go black and white. Which layer? Let me see. Let me turn this layer off for just a second. So you guys see what I did there? All right, so the eye here next to each layer will allow you to see that layer and what you have done with it. So I'm gonna erase that for a second. Let me erase that. This might be the layer that is encroaching on the other. So let's, okay, we got the eraser there. Nope, which layer am I on? This is the layer I want. Okay, so I hid all the other layers. This is the layer I want. I'm going to erase all of this right here. being careful not to hit the section that actually has it. All right, now I'm going to turn that back on. Perfect. Okay, that was the layer that was encroaching. So now I'm going, so you can see we have all the layers again. I'm going to make sure I'm on the layer that I'm erasing, which is the blue layer now. I'm on my eraser tool on the left. I've got my slide bar that shows me how big. We're going to make it a little bit smaller just because we don't have a lot of area we're erasing over here. We do all this. Oh, too much. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make my eraser just a tad bit smaller so I can control it a little bit better. And maybe so I can see it. There we go. So just follow our pattern outline. Oops, tuck in there. Pop it in there. Here we go. I'm going to erase this. Great. All right, zoom back out. Get rid of all this down here. It was part of that image. I think I'm going to resize the image because you can see here that that's the bottom edge of that fabric, and I want to make sure that blue is everywhere. So there we go. That means I'm going to need to erase again just a tad bit to clear out some of those edges. All right, there we go. I'm happy with that. So there's my next layer. And I think I'm going to pull the main fabric back down to the bottom layer just to have it coordinate just a tad bit more. Again, you can kind of play with this. You can go different ways and figure out what you like best. And I think I'm going to try to maybe get that to be there. All right. I don't want that black and white. All right, here we go. Let's erase all this extra that we just don't need. Okay. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna make my eraser a little smaller, control it a little better, a little closer to those line edges. All right, and there you have a designed image. So now that you can see that we took the pattern outline, we took screenshots of the fabric choices that we have, and then we placed them all on different layers so that we could see which fabric we liked where. Now I'm going to show you one more trick that I hopefully won't confuse you guys, but remember I told you you can turn layers on and off, right? So let's say that I wasn't really sure that this is the fabric I wanted on my bottom layer. When I do this, I can create, I'm going to turn this layer off, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to put a different color fabric on that bottom layer real quick. Let's say I wanted to go with, oh goodness, the green, just, you know, for something different. All right, because that green ties in as well. It's one of the fabrics in the coordinating set. All right, good. Nope, we don't want it black and white. And now we're going to erase, and we're going to get rid of all of the extra that we don't need in here. Good. Okay. All right, so now I've got that, or I can toggle between the other layer that I had. I can undo this one, and I can now take a look. Do I like that one better, or do I like this one better? Okay, there you go. All right, now the reason when both of these are checked, the reason that the floral print is what shows over the green is because that layer is higher in the stack. So if I were to, let me see, oh, I'm not going to do that right now. Oh, go back to layers. Okay, so if I were to turn that one off and then turn that one on, you can see it, right? There is a way to adjust your layers. I'm just not going to go into that right now. I don't want to confuse anyone. All right, so now that you have seen how the program works and seen the simple tools that you can use, I hope that you all have fun playing with the program and you can create your own designs. We would love to see you share those within the Sunflower Seams Pattern Facebook group. One last thing, down here on the bottom right, you see this arrow. You can save it as a PNG, all right? So it'll save that image, or you can just go back to your gallery, okay? Click the back arrow here at the top, okay? And then you'll see your image there in your gallery as well, all right? Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have a great day. Bye.